So this is where the latest chapter of Oshinoko ends on. Aqua literally frames his father Kamiki for his potential murder, and the chapter literally has him stabbing himself, and then you see him basically talking about what this will mean, what the media will say, and then grabs his father, and basically they start to fall into the ocean. This legitimately is quite the cliffhanger. I mean, I just want to remind everybody, 3 chapters ago, we had this as a cliffhanger. Like, we went from this, where, like, we had this fake out with, like, Ruby potentially being stabbed, but obviously we found out it was Akane dressing up as Ruby, and, she had a knife-proof vest on, and then we shift over into the latest chapter, where, basically you have Aqua find out that no matter what happens, no matter if his father Kamiki is locked up, the murders or the potential threat to Ruby's life will never cease. And that was the whole point of this revelation here in the last chapter. And I'll get all into the nuance and the meaning of this in just a second, but basically the end of the chapter concludes where Aqua wants to frame his father for murder. AKA, Aqua is hurting himself for his father will take the blame because that's how the media will see it. And basically, he explains it the best he can here. Hikaru Kamiki, who was accused of committing a crime in his biopic, got into a fight with a scriptwriter. And after a stabbing, they both fell off a cliff to their deaths. Now, obviously, if there is a crime scene investigation, I feel like Aqua's plan isn't really thought out too well. I'll get into that in a moment. But, like, at first glance, just on paper, not really thinking too much about the crime scene forensics and all that type of stuff that could go on here, basically, yeah, this does seem like this would nail, Kamiki for, basically everything that's going on here. That, he got very upset that his life pretty much was shown to the entire world, and that he was responsible for the death of so many people, like and, he got so angry he lashed out against his own son. This is definitely what the media would report on and say and spin the story. And in a way, this might be what Aqua is banking on, regardless if, like, the crime scenes and stuff come out, for instance, revealing that maybe it was actually Aqua that stabbed himself. The media is probably going to go through and just talk about Hikari being a really awful individual, like a demon, this father figure that was a failure, did horrendous things to Ruby, and Aqua. That's probably what the media would run with. So, there is a part here to where maybe Aqua knows about the potential holes in his plan if crime investigation comes in and finds out what's really going on here, but the media might have already covered it and just forever ruined the legacy of, Kamiki, and there's just nothing will ever be changed about that. The public opinion will be on the side of Ruby and also on the side of Aqua. So let's get into the nitty-gritty here. So, here's the thing. I don't know if Aka and Mingo, mainly Aka, since Aka is the writer of Oshinoko, I don't know if Aka has thought about the holes in this plan of Aqua stabbing himself. Like, let's explain this. So, I'm no crime investigator, but I have watched some true crime. I've seen, clips and stuff, body cam footage, all that type of stuff. I'm going to be blunt. And, everything about this does seem like Aqua hasn't planned this well. For one, he's not wearing gloves. He's wearing just his hands. Well, obviously everybody wears their hands, but, like, he has just his hands. He doesn't have gloves on to mask his fingerprints, and he is putting his fingerprints all on this knife. It has his blood on it, his fingerprints, and the way the overall grip of the knife is, and the way the stabbing is, it looks like, it is self-inflicted. Any crime investigator probably would look at this and say, this is a self-inflicted wound. Now, obviously, it would complicate matters because, obviously, Kamiki is there beside him, so the first glance would be maybe there was a struggle, a scuffle, and that's probably what happened, basically, Kamiki is the one that killed Aqua. But one thing that the crime investigators might kind of bring up is that maybe they were fighting over the knife, but then that would be thrown out because obviously only the fingerprints on it would be Aqua's. So they were saying most likely Aqua had the knife. He went in to meet the father and basically had a knife drawn on him. And then, somehow they got into a fight or brawl or something, and Aqua stabbed himself, they fell over the bluff. That's how this entire story could theoretically come out in the media. Basically, the reason why Aqua took the stab wound is because he brought the knife first, and he is the one that started the confrontation. So this right here, just let alone, not even getting into the fingerprint part, this is a hole in Aqua's plan. Like I said, I don't think Aka-sensei is probably going to bring full-blown crime analysis and all that into the upcoming chapters. I really doubt that. I don't expect them to know everything about crime investigation and stuff like that, but there definitely is some things here that just, it feels very obvious that police and all of them are instantly going to pick up on, and this is going to be a very massive investigation. It's like, if theoretically, going on a limb here and saying that Kamiki and Aqua does in fact die. Let's say next chapter it is revealed they both die, okay? The investigation's gonna be huge, especially with the overwhelming popularity of Ruby being an idol right now, and then obviously the movie coming out. There's going to be just so much publicity around these siblings and their family that, you know, this is going to be one of the top stories in Japan, maybe even worldwide news, who really knows? Everybody's going to be talking about it, and so because of that, I feel like there's going to be a lot of investigation here to make sure to get the facts right, and that just this alone, first glance, is just, it's going to fall through. It's not going to look good on Aqua's end. This is not even getting into the fact that this would 100% hurt Ruby if Aqua was indeed to die. Like, even if she doesn't get any blowback, even if the media coverage and all that, you know, does side with her and Aqua's story, for instance, somehow he gets away with the lie, this is going to damage Ruby. She is not going to be a-okay, and anyone actually truly believing that is just completely misguided and has not been reading the story, but also Aqua showcases his absolute selfishness, not truly understanding the feelings of his own sister. Now, I understand why he's doing these things, because he's in a position, his only option at this time is to get rid of his father, because last chapter is revealed that even if he was put behind bars, like in a prison cell, he would manipulate people around him to do his dirty work just to be able to harm Ruby. So, like, no matter what happens, as long as this man breathes, the danger to Ruby's life will always be there, and Aqua's realized that. So this is why he's doing such a desperate struggle to be able to get rid of his father, because it's like that's the only thing that's going to happen. He's got to go regardless, and so he's doing it in the best way he can. He's banking on a potential 50-50, well, not even a 50-50. This has like a 75-80% chance of falling through and not really being a good plan, but he's banking on like maybe 20% of it potentially being told as a lie, and the media picking it up and siding with him in Ruby's story. That's what he's hoping on. So, everything about this situation is pretty fascinating, but getting into the whole Ruby stuff, if, hypothetically, we went on a limb here and we said that, you know, Kamiki and Aqua die next chapter, like they're fully 100% dead, Ruby's not going to be happy. She's going to be miserable. She's probably not going to be able to do idol work anymore. She's going to be in a spiral of depression because she would lose her brother figure. She does not want that. And it's very clear that Aqua might not fully realize this. I mean, he's not dumb, clearly. I mean, we got, like, whole revelation of him thinking back of what things he should do, like regrets, etc. How he should literally call, you know, Miyako mother. All these different type of things. Really good scenes and all that. And I think that it is showcasing that Aqua is realizing everybody's feelings, but he's still being very selfish, and he's taking it all upon himself to handle the situation instead of doing the right thing. Anyways, with all that being said, we got to get back into the whole stabbing situation. So, disregarding the fact of, like, the self-inflicted and all this type of stuff, we got to look at the fingerprints. Now, let's talk about that. If, like, you know, what they are falling over the cliff. They are going into the water. Fingerprints don't just disappear because they're in the water. They'll be there for a little bit, maybe a few days. I'm assuming it depends on, like, saltwater content and all that, probably certain parts of weather, but there will technically still be traces of fingerprints on the said weapon, even if it's underwater for a limited amount of time. And obviously, Aqua's banking that they will be found very quickly, so even if it goes underwater, it lands on the sand, there's still enough time, even if like 2 days potentially pass, for them to actually figure out what's really going on. So, once again, the whole fingerprint thing, if Aqua's banking on his fingerprints to a road or something, that's not going to be the case. He 100% should have wore gloves. Honestly, Mingo, not Aka in this case, but Mingo really should have drawn gloves on Aqua here, because it would have corrected a lot of the problems with the chapter and the crime scene investigation, because, like, then it would be up in the air to really say what actually happened. It'd be more vague. But the fact there is no gloves makes it to where it really does seem completely like Aqua's fault for the entire situation. Also, we gotta look at the cliff. The whole cliff sequence and the way they're falling. I mean, you know, with the whole scene where, like, you know, he rushes at Kamiki and he pushes him off, they're gonna be able to also see this. There's probably gonna be marks on Kamiki's legs, you know, from the sheer push and the brush up against this, you know, fence right here. He's probably gonna have some form of marks or whatever on the back of his legs. They're gonna be able to tell exactly how they fell. And depending on how they fall, if he falls on his back or he falls on his, you know, side or, you know, whatever, they're going to be able to realize how the falling trajectory was and who was the one that pushed them first. So once again, it's going to lead into a scuffle, a fight, and it's going to look more and more or less like Aqua came there actually picking a fight than actually Kamiki trying to do anything to begin with. So, yeah, I know I'm putting a lot of thought. I'm going on a tangent here and putting way more thought that needs to be for this chapter, but I'm just trying to say that this wasn't fully thought through. It wasn't. It was not. There is a lot of, like, holes in this, and it's like, I don't expect Aka to be, like, a crime investigator to understand every little intricacy. Even I don't understand everything, but there is some surface-level stuff here that should have been definitely investigated before writing this, because I feel like this isn't really the best plan. I understand what Aqua's doing as a character. He feels cornered, but there has been no indication that he's realizing the flaws in his plan. He hasn't mentioned that in his own mind. So we're led to believe that he truly believes there is no hole in his plan, and he's doing this. That's what I'm led to believe. Anyways, I'm going to leave it at that. I wanted to talk about this chapter of Oshinoko. I like it, but if you want to know my honest opinion on what's going to happen, disregarding everything else, Aqua's not going to die. Crow Girl, she's in the chapter. We saw her previous chapters and all that. He's not gonna die. He's gonna be a-okay. She's gonna do some form of, like, magic fantasy type stuff to make sure he's okay. I mean, she already reincarnated Aqua and Ruby before, so it's not really hard to believe that she can intervene to some degree once again. So, yeah, just FYI there, I do think that Aqua's gonna be a-okay. I don't think he's really gonna die. I was just talking about the nuance of the chapter. Anyways, be safe, stay healthy, love you guys. Chibi out.